If you've been anywhere near the internet lately, you've definitely seen the headlines. I mean, we're seeing massive, mind-bending AI breakthroughs happening left and right. And because of that, there's a growing, very loud chorus of voices claiming that artificial general intelligence, AGI, is basically already here. It's the absolute holy grail of tech, right? The exact moment a machine can match or even totally exceed the full range of human cognitive abilities. But are we actually there? Or are we just mistaking incredibly impressive party tricks for true intelligence? Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're going to cut right through that massive wall of hype and set up the central, high-stakes debate surrounding our current AI reality. Okay, let's dive right in. Here is our roadmap to understanding where machine intelligence actually stands today. We'll kick things off with the AGI reality check, move into why AGI feels real, explore the jagged intelligence problem, ask what is AI missing, discuss defining the undefinable, and wrap up with the strange middle stage. Section 1. The AGI reality check. The bar is actually much higher than you might think. To start us off, we really need to listen to one of the most prominent and surprisingly skeptical voices in the entire industry. Demis Hassabis, the CEO of Google DeepMind. He is undeniably at the absolute bleeding edge of this technology, yet his stance is super grounded. He bluntly stated that today's systems are, in his opinion, nowhere near AGI. When you think about it, that statement throws a bucket of ice water on the internet's current hype cycle. For Hassabis, true AGI requires far more than just narrow problem solving. Now, the reason his skepticism hits so hard is because it sits right next to staggering achievements. For example, OpenAI recently announced that one of its internal models actually disproved a central math conjecture in discrete geometry, a problem first posed by Paul Erdos all the way back in 1946. And no, this wasn't an AI hallucination. It was thoroughly checked and verified by human mathematicians. It's brilliant. But Hassabis argues that solving complex math, while an undeniable sign of progress, doesn't automatically mean we've crossed the AGI finish line. A model can be a sheer genius in one incredibly specific area and still completely lack basic real-world understanding. Section 2. Why AGI feels real. The case for the genius machine. We can't pretend the pro-AGI camp doesn't have a fantastic argument here. The people claiming AGI is already here have incredibly credible practical talking points. Take venture capitalist Mark Andreessen. He points out that the latest frontier models can give you better answers than almost any expert you could possibly call, whether we're talking medicine, law, coding, or finance. His argument is totally pragmatic. If a system acts as a reliable, highly skilled expert across a multitude of complex daily tasks, well, it effectively functions as a general intelligence for the person using it. And this brings up a brilliant point from Nick Carter, who points out a pretty glaring double standard we all have. Think about it. If a human being could instantly write production-level code, pass the bar exam, build robust financial models, and solve a 1946 math problem, we would instantly, without hesitation, label that person a generational genius. But when an AI does those exact same things, we casually dismiss it as just a flawed algorithm. Which brings us to Section 3, the jagged intelligence problem. The case of the goblin. Let's shift over to the skeptic's counter-argument. Because while those moments of AI genius are very real, they are frequently paired with bizarre, deeply unpredictable flaws. AI researcher Andrej Karpathy calls this jagged intelligence. You see, human intelligence generally grows in a linear, interconnected way. But AI capabilities, they are incredibly jagged. They can perform at superhuman levels 1 second and then catastrophically fail at a logic puzzle a toddler could solve the very next second. AI critic Gary Marcus makes a really fierce counterargument here. He highlights these exact failures, pointing out that developers are frequently forced to use hacky, hidden prompt engineering just to stop these supposedly brilliant models from doing entirely irrational things. He actually calls it a trillion-dollar train wreck, arguing that instead of doing rigorous computer science, we're basically reduced to chanting magic incantations like alchemy just to get the models to behave. And to prove just how weird things can get, consider this number, 76.2%. Gary Marcus highlighted an audit where an AI system with a nerdy persona actually rewarded the random insertion of the word goblin or gremlin into its outputs. Across different datasets, it gave a positive uplift to answers simply because they included the word goblin over 76% of the time. There was literally a point where OpenAI had to put instructions into system prompts, telling the model not to talk about goblins, raccoons, or pigeons unless specifically asked. This perfectly proves the skeptic's point. Yes, the system is brilliant at high-level math, but it is fundamentally broken in some truly strange, unpredictable ways.
Section 4. What is AI missing? The 5 pillars of true AGI.
So, if we strip away the goblins and the hype, what is actually missing? Let's bring this explainer back to Demis Hassabis to systematically break down the gap between human intelligence and current machine capabilities. According to him, there are 5 major missing pillars. First, long-term reliability. Models need to perform consistently across messy, real-world tasks, not just ace a single prompt. Second, autonomy and planning. The AI must execute, check its own work, and recover from mistakes over time. Third, stable, lived memory. We're not just talking about a short-term context window, but a continuous stream of lived understanding. Fourth, grounded reasoning, truly understanding the physical world, not just predicting text about it. And finally, true invention. This is absolutely crucial. True AGI shouldn't just solve a math puzzle we hand it. It needs to proactively ask the right questions, generate original ideas, and create entirely new frameworks on its own.
AI pioneer Yann LeCun actually summarizes this divide perfectly. He points out that current AI is incredibly useful precisely because of its massive accumulation of declarative knowledge. I mean, it's basically read the entire internet. But that massive database is essentially just a band-aid. It compensates for the AI's total lack of basic common sense, physical understanding of reality, and lived experience.
Section 5. Defining the undefinable. The semantic trap.
But what if this entire fierce debate is fundamentally flawed from the start? What if the core terminology we're fighting over is just broken? Researcher Helen Toner argues that we've fallen into a massive semantic trap. The term AGI has honestly become an almost useless, fuzzy buzzword because literally everyone brings a completely different expectation to the table.
Because when you break it down, definitions vary wildly depending on who you ask. The general public mostly thinks AGI is just an expert-level chatbot. Developers? They think it's an autonomous AI researcher. Economists are specifically looking for a system that can replace human knowledge workers entirely. And philosophers are holding out for conscious, self-improving machines. Because these expectations are all over the map, asking is AGI here is actually the wrong question. A much better question is, which specific capabilities do we have today, and which ones are we still missing? Section 6, the strange middle stage. AI in business today. And that leads us to the real-world stakes. We are currently living in this very strange middle stage. AI is way past simple autocomplete, but it's clearly not full AGI either. So how do we practically apply this? Well, there are 2 massive dangers for businesses right now. Danger 1 is looking at the critiques, seeing the flaws, and deciding to ignore AI entirely just because it's not true AGI. That is a huge mistake. These models are already transforming coding, research, and daily operations. But danger 2 is the exact opposite, hearing that an AI solved an Erdos math problem and immediately trusting it blindly in high-stakes roles before it's truly reliable. We have to balance the sheer amazement of AI's current usefulness with absolute honesty about its jagged unreliability. Even though Hassabis says we are nowhere near AGI right now, he makes a crucial prediction. He thinks that in 5 to 10 years, we are going to look back at 2026 or 2027 as the exact era when the transformational singularity really started to take off. The point is, even the skeptics believe the finish line is right there on the horizon, driven entirely by the agentic systems we are deploying today, AI that can actually take autonomous actions, not just chat with us. Which leaves us with a final, pretty urgent question for you to ponder. Are you just passively waiting around for a definitive finish line? Some magical moment when everyone finally agrees AGI is here? Or are you actively figuring out how safely and effectively harness the incredibly powerful, albeit jagged intelligence available to us right now? The world is already changing fast in the strange middle stage, and it's entirely up to you how you navigate it. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.